Hi, I'm Crystal L. Kirkham, author, publisher, and sometimes even a podcaster myself. And you're listening to the absolutely awesome Dead Hand Radio.
Welcome to Dead Hand Radio. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So you're in Canada? What part of Canada?
I currently live in central Alberta.
That's like center of the country pretty much, isn't it?
It's the second province away from the ocean, so fairly western. And central also makes me fairly northern. So it would take me about 4.5, 5 hours to drive to the US border from here.
Oh, okay. I see where you're at now. Well, I am in Nevada. Do you know where that's at?
I do. I've actually traveled most of the western US with the exception of Nevada.
Oh, yeah. Well, Nevada is a place you definitely should visit. There's so much to do here. And I'm not even talking about the strip, the casinos. That stuff to me is secondary.
I hear there's some actual excellent hiking out there.
Yeah. Do you like hiking?
I do. I grew up in Vancouver, so I grew up surrounded by the mountains, and I used to do a lot of backpacking. I still go out and hunt on occasion, so.
Very cool. Yeah, I go hiking all the time. My wife and I go to Mount Charleston. There's trails out at Lake Mead. There's trails out at Red Rock Canyon, Valley of Fire. I mean, there's so many beautiful places to go hiking out here. We even take our grandson with us sometimes, but he's little, so he can't hike too far. He's only 4 years old.
Yeah, that's more of a gentle walk in the park age.
Yeah, we do some of that with him. In fact, this weekend, I'm hoping to be able to take him over to the park because the temperature here has dropped, and we're getting down into where it's like the 60s, 70s during the day.
Oh, that sounds like our summer.
I figured you would say that. Yeah, I'm sure that's like temperate weather for you guys. For us, it's comfortable weather.
Yeah, so I actually have a friend who's in Las Vegas, and our summer highs are your overnight lows.
Yeah, although it does get cold enough to snow here occasionally, very rarely, but 2008, I've got video. We had 8 inches of snow in Las Vegas in the city. So it doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
Wow. I only have it for 8 months a year, so.
So you're used to it. If we want snow, we have to go up to Mount Charleston really to get it. And that's only during, like, I think starting in November, we should start to see some snow. And then it usually goes on through March.
Man, that would be so nice. I drove home from my family's place from Thanksgiving because ours is the second weekend of October. And it's a 12-hour drive and almost did the entire thing in snow.
Wow. Yeah, I know people who live in snow hate it because it's just the constant norm and it's boring. It's a pain in the butt to deal with it. I go to the snow because it's different than the desert, which I love. I absolutely love the desert. It's always cooler up on the mountain because here 110 degrees is pretty, it's hard to bear with that. So an escape to 70-degree weather up on the mountain is a nice respite from that desert heat once in a while.
I can believe you. I've as I said, most of my travels in the US have been in the summer. So, I've been in Arizona, but it's been well over 100 degrees.
Yeah, Arizona gets hot too, and they have it worse because it gets humid down there.
No. When you grow up beside the ocean, nothing is humid compared to that.
No, don't get me wrong. I grew up in California, so I know what the humidity of the coast is, but no. Arizona compared to Nevada. Nevada is like on a hot day, it's like putting your head into an oven.
Oof.
It's
Ha.
so dry and brutally hot. There's no moisture in the air whatsoever. But to go down to Arizona, they have that humidity in the summertime. They have those tsunami, or not tsunamis. What am I thinking? Monsoons, uh, which brings in some precipitation. It really makes the weather. To me, it's worse because that humidity just it makes it hard for me to breathe. I just really don't like humidity. That's why I moved away from the coast.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I come from a long line of wet weather dwelling people from humid climates. So very, very British, as in I still qualify for British citizenship.
Yeah, I guess the Brits do. But the Brits that I know, they do not really care for
No.
all the weather, all the wet weather that they get over there.
And yet so
They
many of
tend to
them
complain about it.
retire to the Vancouver, Victoria area where it is very, very wet.
Oh, is that right? That's funny. I talked with I don't know if you know who this is or not, Philip Reeve. He's the writer of the Mortal Engines,
Sounds
the
familiar, but I don't think
young
I know
adult
them.
post-apocalyptic novel.
Hmm.
Anyway, he's in England, and I'm not sure exactly where, but he sent me some pictures on Twitter of his local area, and oh my god, it looks like something out of a fairy tale. It
It's
literally looks like a fairy tale landscape. It's so beautiful.
it's very quaint. I still have relatives um over on the East Coast in um Broadstairs, and most of my friends are near the Birmingham area, so it's a nice area, but you head up north to Devonshire, you get closer to the Lakes District, and it is stunning.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. I've never been there, but maybe someday. I'll never say never, but I am 54 now. I don't travel very often, and
Oh, you're not that much older than me.
oh, how old are you?
I'm 40.
I wouldn't even guess.
I'm
40?
40.
Oh, that's not bad. No, that's quite young, actually. In my mind, it is.
When
um,
you work with people that you're old enough to be their mother, it hurts a little sometimes.
yes, that I could imagine that. Fortunately, I'm self-employed and have been for 20 years, so I don't have to work around people half my age. I do have three daughters that are grown. My oldest is 31
Oh,
now.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
you started
started young. My wife
young.
and I started young.
Oh, you're lucky
Yeah.
to still get to be fairly
Well,
young when they're up and out of the house. You still have
yeah.
energy.
Well, two of them still live in the house. So,
Okay, no. Get those
which
freeloaders
is
out of there.
that no, they're great. They're great kids. I love having them here. And one of my daughters that lives with us has a son who is my grandson, and he's my constant shadow, my buddy.
Oh, you're so
I love
lucky.
having him with me. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
I am fortunate.
me and my dogs.
Hey, dogs are great. I love pets. I don't have any right now, but what kind of dogs do you have?
I have, well, that I own right now in the house are two standard poodles and an Australian Shepherd. And then I have another standard poodle here, but we'll be breeding my girl again next summer to a boy down south. So I'll be taking the pick boy out of that litter for showing. So I
Okay.
show and breed standard poodles.
I haven't read any of your writings, but BK has told me a little bit about what you wrote, and I've been recording like 2 and 3 interviews a day, trying to schedule more interviews, going out, and so I just haven't had a chance to look at your bio. If you don't mind, would you just give me a breakdown of, you know, um, from the creative aspect of it, where you come from, when you discovered your earliest interest in storytelling, and kind of what are your inspirations and stuff like that?
I would say let's start with the easy question, which is my earliest inspiration is goes all the way back to when I was in, I think the fourth grade, and our teacher assigned a little creative writing project, and I wrote mine about a little caterpillar trying to find a home. And she loved it so much. I'm just like, I'm a really good writer. I should do this. And, it's been one of those on and off things over the years of the, stern lecture from the parents. Oh, there's no money in writing. Get a real job, go to school. So I studied biotechnology. I studied political science. I studied web technology, so web design, graphic design, and all of that. Never really got a degree on anything at all, but I studied a lot of it. And, from all of that background, I've always loved the sciences. I've always been very heavy into the sciences. And I grew up reading fantasy, science fiction, and horror, which kind of all combined to where I am now, which is I write very dark speculative fiction. So everything I write, whether it's science fiction or fantasy, tends to have that darkness that you would generally find in horror pushed into it. And so if I'm not actually writing directly horror, I'm writing something that's going to have very dark themes throughout it.
You just triggered a memory that I hadn't thought about forever, 30 years or so. But yeah, I wrote a story for a creative writing class or something that I had. And the teacher gave me high kudos for that. But that did not lead to a career in writing for me. So what do you think, um, aside from the encouragement that the teacher gave you, what else do you think it was that led you down the path of storytelling?
I would say one of the things is I've always been a bit of a bookworm. My parents used to say that the only real punishment for me was not to send me to my room, but to make me spend time with people. I
That's brutal.
Yeah, that's because I'd get home and I was well known in school. I actually never did homework. I slept through most of my classes, but I'd get home and I'd pick up a fiction book in science fiction or fantasy and I would read instead of doing my homework. And I've always been drawn to the written word. When I graduated high school, I actually really wanted to go into journalism, and I was dissuaded because, in the 1990s, journalism was considered a dying art form. So I was told not to do that. And my next choices after that were to go into the sciences or into law. And I decided I didn't want to spend as much time as it took to get a law degree and do all of that. I realized, oh my gosh, that's going to take like 6 or 7 years. I don't want to be in school that long. I don't want to have to work that hard. I'm just going to go and study biotechnology. Turns out I really hate lab work too. So that didn't work out so well for me. But I've just, I've always loved the written word, and I'm pretty sure that has something to do with it.
Yeah, that's I hear that from a lot of writers that they're typically very avid readers, and they consume a lot of they consume a lot of books, which yeah, I feel like a broken record saying this because I've said it probably 20 times over the last 2 weeks. Um, I'm a slow reader, notoriously slow reader. Um, I pick up a book and I might read 2 or 3 pages, and that's it because I get distracted while I'm reading. Even a good story will hold my attention for a couple of pages in, but then I start thinking about something else because I just have an overactive mind.
Yeah. That's actually one of the reasons I really love short stories and novelettes and novellas because they're not as big of a time commitment. I'm a really busy person. I have the full-time job. I'm in the middle of starting up my own publishing company. I do my own writing. I do freelance editing. Um, I have, a bunch of other things going on as well. And I don't always have as much time to commit to reading a full novel as I would like. So I find those novellas and novelettes and short stories are just absolutely ideal because I get a story and it doesn't take me several weeks or a month to get through it.
I talked to a girl today who runs a book review blog or book review website, and she told me that last year alone she read over 375 books in a year. I said, "Whoa, that's like a superpower, man!"
Oh,
And she just reads nonstop. Now she doesn't write except for the reviews that she posts on her blog, but that's an incredible amount of reading. I just couldn't even imagine trying to read that much. A book a day, or more than a book a day. That blows my mind.
wow.
Um,
I couldn't even do that if I
it,
didn't work a day. Even if I didn't work a day job, I could not get through a book a day.
yeah, and she does have a full-time job. She does have a full-time job. The book review website is a side thing, a passion project for her, and she just has an intense passion to consume books. And the majority of the books that she reads are independent authors. You know, um, so let's talk a little bit about your writing first, and then we'll talk about the new venture that you're embarking on shortly. Because I would like to hear about that. I know. Did you publish through Kyanite as well?
I did publish through Kyanite, and for a while there, I was actually working with them in the background with editing, cover design, and just basic time management stuff. So,
Mhm. Yeah. So I'm sure some of that work that you did with them is going to translate to you being successful at your launching your venture, which is awesome.
it,
It's also great because I'm sure it's going to be a home for hopefully several of those authors that were publishing through them who no longer have a publishing home.
there are,
Do you? Well,
yes.
you know what? I got ahead of myself. I wanted to talk about your writing career first. So let's talk about that. How long have you been actually writing um, for publication? So whether it's self-publishing or writing for a publisher.
I started self-publishing back in 2016, and I spent at least a good 8 years writing novels that were absolutely horrible before I even got around to writing one that I thought was worthy of publishing. Um, Probably could have used more editing. I didn't know much about editing back then. And ever since then, I've really just put a focus on writing things and getting published and getting stories out there. So I've actually been published with other publishing companies as well for some of my short work. But so
Cool. And the type of books that you write, you said speculative fiction. Do you also write hard science fiction or straight up horror, or are you just kind of jumping all over the place between them?
I really like to play mishmash with my genres, and I try. I don't. What's the best way to put this? I don't think about a genre when I'm writing the book. I figure out what it is when I'm done, and generally it ends up being a bit of a mishmash. I do write some straight up horror, and a few things I've worked on. They're generally more towards the paranormal aspect of horror, which is a very easy aspect to work with. But I do tend to poke at other genres within it. As for hard sci-fi, I actually have written some. I love researching. I love reading about theoretical physics. It's a favorite pastime of mine. And but unfortunately, for some reason, science fiction hasn't always been one of my biggest publishable genres. It always ends up being one of the things like, oh, this could be better. I do have one side project that one of my early beta readers has been one of the very few people to read, and it is a full-length science fiction novel called Blood on the Stars that is very military sci-fi one. And she is dying for me to write the second half of that story and get it published because it is by far her most favorite thing I've ever written, and she doesn't understand why I haven't finished it yet. It's a lot of research.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers my next question was, do you understand why you haven't finished it? And it's just because the how much research you have to do to get the science part right.
Yeah, and I mean, I always have. I'm one of those writers who every time somebody throws a challenge at me, I have to, rise to that challenge. Everything from write a novel from these 3 random prompts in 30 days. Done that one. Um, hey, Crystal, we are doing this anthology. It's invite only. This is what you have to write for it. You want to do it? Yeah, sure. I've only got 30 things on my plate. I'm going to do that. So I tend to get distracted easily too. So between the research and the distraction.
Well, there is a saying that if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Have you ever heard that?
I have heard that a lot.
Because they tend to take on tasks beyond their capacity to finish, but they find a way of doing it anyway. That's great to hear that you're willing to take on those other tasks to expand your horizons. It's also cool that you're willing to build that network. You do things to help other people, and like BK told you to get in touch with me, told me to get in touch with you, and I'm hoping that this will bring more exposure to the people that are contributing to it. The podcast is relatively new. How much did he tell you about the podcast?
Almost nothing, but I trust BK implicitly. So he said, get in touch with
Cool.
this guy. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that.
All right. Well, I'll bring you up to speed as quickly as I can, and then we'll move on with your story if you like.
Sure.
The podcast is Dead Hand Radio. It's about the Cold War. Well, it's centered on the Cold War. I'll say that much. But I cover everything from movies, books, anything to do with entertainment, culture, art, um, as long as it can be tied back in some way to the Cold War, which is not really hard to do. In my mind, it's not hard to do because the Cold War has had such an impact on so many generations. It's still impacting us to this day. And so the Cold War was the groundwork for me to start from. It was the way for me to build a platform that I can start reaching out and talking to people and have a little bit of confidence in approaching people. And what I really wanted to do was start to talk with people from different walks of life, from different interests, areas of interest, but also people who shared similar interests that I do, which is not hard again because I have so many interests. When you said paranormal, I just did a 12 episode series on ghost stories, haunted buildings, cursed lands.
Oof.
I talked with people. Yeah, I talked with people in the paranormal uh, field
Uh,
for 2 weeks, and
you'd love
got
this. My current work in progress is a gothic romance, which is more focused on the whole horror, paranormal, ghost aspect of the cursed manor.
very cool. Very cool. Okay, so uh, talk about your career, your writing career. Once you started getting published, how did it evolve?
Well, I started off not knowing anything and self-publishing with no clue about what I was doing. That was my first novel. My second novel, I self-published as well. Took a lot more time and care. I'd spent the 2 years in between those novels learning a lot about um, publishing and self-publishing and things to do and things not to do. So I did a bit of a better job on getting that one done. It's far better edited. And by that time, I wanted to do more. I'd always wanted to be traditionally published, which is when I got my chance with Kyanite, with my next novel, which was a adventure fantasy called Feathers and Fae. And then I started trying to write short stories again. And we're not even going to count how many other things I've published since that Feathers and Fae was 2019, 2018, 2019. And yeah, and in that time, I published probably in about 15 different things in that very, very short time frame.
That's a lot. That does sound like quite a bit. Yeah. How important do you think it is as an independent writer to submit stories to smaller magazines? And now I guess they call them zines, online zines. Is that right? Is that the right term for it?
Um, yeah, I guess it is. I see e-zines a lot, but that's kind of a
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
slightly older lexicon, so it's kind of variable. It really depends on what kind of exposure you're looking for. Whether or not it pays is sometimes an iffy thing. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, don't give your artwork away for free. Don't give it away." But sometimes it's really good to help support those smaller ones, especially when they have bigger aspirations, because they're gonna go somewhere and you're gonna be a part of that journey. At the same time, it's really nice to get paid, so it's a balancing act. There's a bunch of books that I've done that I haven't gotten paid for, that I've done quite a few submissions into, and ones where I have gotten paid. And the thing is, every time you write something, every time you query, every time you submit, it's a learning experience as well. So I would say it is actually fairly important to just really get out there and keep trying and get feedback where you can as well, especially if they're the type of place that gives you personalized feedback, then it helps you grow as a writer as well.
A good point. I was thinking more from the perspective of expanding your audience by increasing your exposure through publishing through the smaller zines, because they are more they're more approachable. Um, Sometimes they're a little more forgiving. They'll accept stuff that's a little less. Um, I don't know what the word is.
Polished?
Not, huh?
A little less polished?
Yes, that's the exact word I was looking for. Polished. Um, because a lot of them are startups, and a lot of them do it. They don't make any money on doing it, and they're just trying to build an audience themselves. So they bring in writers who are up and coming, and they're a lot more forgiving. It seems like so. Uh, yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought right there, but it does seem like it's important to me. I'm not a writer, so I don't really know, but it does seem like it would be an important step or important part of the process to submit to smaller zines.
It definitely is. I mean, the biggest thing is just confirming, intellectual property rights when it comes to the smaller ones. Some of them don't always have contracts. So, as a writer, knowing what your rights are with your work is very, very important. I even worked on putting together a very free anthology. And even though we weren't charging for the book, we weren't, all the authors were donating time, editors were donated cover design, everything was a donated effort. Nobody made a penny off of it. And we still actually sent out contracts to the authors just so that they clearly were aware that they still retained all rights to their works. We were holding no rights to it. They could submit it anywhere else that they wanted, just so that everybody was on the same board. And I do know a lot of smaller places don't always do that. So, for those going that way, definitely make sure you know where your rights are standing with your work.
That's important. That's a good point to make, especially for writers that are just starting out, because they're really not thinking a lot about the long term uh, potential consequences to not protecting their intellectual property rights. Because they're just so excited about writing, and if they get published, even if they don't get paid, they're happy about that. So they're willing to forego that formal process of writing or signing a contract to protect themselves. Well, that could be detrimental in the long term. Um, So yeah, it's, your career went from writing and self-publishing to working with a publisher, and I'm sure that gave you all the chops you need to have to branch out eventually and start your own. Is that kind of how the process worked?
It kind of did. I actually, over the years, it's always been a thing. I love learning new stuff, and I've always been trying to expand my knowledge base as much as possible. And working with BK and Sam, with Kai Knight, learning a lot more of the background stuff was really, really quite eye opening for me. And it gave me a really good basis to move forward with independently with my own little company.
That's interesting, and it's also, well, congrats, um, for taking that step, because it's a huge step to start your own business. Um, is it something that you are planning on eventually doing full time, or is this a way for you to continue to get your work, keep your work under a publishing company, but you're just doing it on the side?
Um, I don't know if you can hear
Oh,
her.
he can make noise.
That
Oh, she can make
yeah.
noise. Yeah, make all the noise she wants to. That's not going to bother anybody.
She'll do this for hours. She thinks it's dinner time, which actually it probably is for her. But sorry, I was going to say, shush, Fred, come on now. Yes, that is a girl. Fred is a girl.
I'm trying to guess what her full name is. Is it like Frederica?
No, it's just Freddie.
Oh my God. Well, that's a great name. I mean, the one Freddie that comes to my mind is Freddie
And
Mercury.
that's who she's named
That's a
after.
Oh, awesome.
Her my kennel
Digital high five right there.
my kennel has a musical theme.
Boom.
So all our dogs have musical names. So her mother is called Treble. And
yeah, okay. Okay.
her registered
Get that.
name
Yeah.
is LaBelle's All About That Bass.
Oh, cool.
And Freddie's registered name is LaBelle's Killer Queen.
Awesome.
So
it was that, were you going to say something else?
yeah, I was not going to talk about my dogs, but she was very intently staring and whining, and I couldn't. Because you did ask me a question about whether or not I was doing the published company for me as a way to do that. So what I was actually going to say was the idea originally started as a way to keep my books under a label and to continue with that. And then I had a few authors approach me and go, "We heard you were starting your own publishing company. Can our books go with you?" And I have a really hard time saying no. One of my friends joked that for Christmas they're getting me a dictionary. It's going to contain one word, and the word will be no.
That's funny. But that's good of you. But it builds your catalog right off the bat. So it's kind of a kickstart for you.
It is, and I appreciate that there are. Pardon me. That I appreciate that there are authors out there who are willing to trust me with their work, because it's a really huge responsibility to have, and it's a very stressful responsibility to have, especially when, I know these authors, I know their work, and they're brilliant and they deserve their chance to have it out there. And it's, yeah, almost kind of humbling that they're willing to say, we trust you enough to take our work and treat it well and treat us well. So exciting.
That's great. Yeah, no, I mean, hats off to you, because that is a big step, and for you to take on the challenge and also help other people along with that. That's I wish you the best of success in that endeavor. I hope that works out for you and the writers that you're going to be working with. the so the process of publishing, um I don't know if I want to go down that road too much. But do you have anything else you wanted to say about the publishing company?
Uh,
What's the name of the company?
it
How
is
about that?
it is called Dark Brew Press.
Okay. I like dark brew. If
Okay.
I drink anything besides vodka, it's going to be a dark ale.
Ooh.
The more bitter, the better.
Yes, that sounds. Oh God, I miss beer.
You can't drink beer?
I am celiac. So
What does that mean?
that means no wheat, rye, or barley.
Oh, wow. So you can't eat bread, any of that?
Nope.
Hmm.
No.
What happens if you do?
I get fairly sick. And if I am in prolonged physical contact, I actually will break out in a rash.
Wow. I've never heard of that. Of course, I'm not in the medical field or the bio field, but that's interesting. I have trouble eating certain foods. Also, I have never been tested for it. I just find that certain foods like pasta make me feel really uncomfortable. Um, certain breads I can't eat. Nowadays, when I eat pizza, it sits on me like a brick.
That's
So there's
probably
just
the
certain foods that,
refined flours. You should try if
yeah.
you make stuff from scratch. Try a European ground flour because they actually tend to use less GMO based products that some people have less issues with when it comes to digesting.
Okay.
Strange things
Well,
you
I'll
find
keep that in
out.
mind. Yeah. Yeah, that's so are you able to eat those kind of products, or do you have to stay away from it completely?
As long as it's not doesn't have the wheat, rye, or barley in it, I can have it. So I have all my substitutions, and most of my favorite pizza places have gluten-free crust.
Oh, cool. Maybe that's what my problem is. Maybe gluten.
Yeah,
I'm
gluten.
a glutton for gluten. Bad joke. I'm sorry. Let's get back on topic, okay?
Oh, sure.
um, so let's see. Okay, let me look at my list of questions because I do have a few questions I wanted to dig into. Like I said, I have to find a way to weave it back into the Cold
Mm.
War,
Well, I've also
because
written
that's what.
military science fiction too. So
Oh, awesome! So let's talk about that then. What's the name of your military science fiction work?
it's a short story that came out in Kyanite Press. Actually, no, there's yeah. Technically, there's more than one that would fall under that. But the one that was specifically intended to be military science fiction is called Let Loose the Dogs of War.
Hmm. Wonder
And
where that came
I
from.
have no idea. It's such a beautiful phrasing. It came out of nowhere.
Wait, let me guess. I know where that came from. That came from the movie The Postman.
You know, I actually haven't seen it, but I know the phrase.
Oh yeah, they use it in the movie, and it's cool. It's very cool the way they use it in the movie.
And you know what? It actually does. I think it harkens back to World War. I think it might be a World War II phrasing where it originally initiated. If I remember correctly from I love etymology, and sometimes I forget a bit of it. Um, but or it's Let's Slip the Dogs of War in that. But I actually for the military sci-fi one, it is actually a cybernetic canine unit because
Oh, okay, cool.
dogs are a huge part of my life, and I had to have fun with it. And being that I love to make things extra dark and dreary, I decided to make it a wonderfully post apocalyptic world ravaged by, oh, I don't know, a horrible virus. Go figure where that idea came from. And with a
Wait,
very,
was this a recent
yes,
story? Oh, so okay, so okay, that's cool. So it's a post-apocalyptic story
it is,
based on the coronavirus, more or less, right?
except far more deadly.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, yeah, the coronavirus is.
if you're not
Yeah,
going to kill just about everybody, it's not really post apocalyptic.
that's true. That is true. Yes. Um, yeah, I love post-apocalyptic fiction. It is my favorite science fiction. I think it crosses easily over into the realm of horror fiction as well. Uh, well, especially when you talk about zombies, you throw zombies in the mix and you're instantly in horror territory. But
I've actually never written zombies ever.
supposedly they're pretty easy to write.
I can
I mean,
imagine that. I mean,
you devastate the world. Go ahead.
my latest one is also sort of post-apoc dystopian type deal, which is a cyberpunk one. So really leaning heavy into self-replicating nanotech. So
Let's talk about that a little bit. Cyberpunk, I'll tell you why. Cyberpunk is something that I did not discover until fairly recently, but it is so interesting to me. Actually, I guess I did like Cyberpunk a long time ago, but I didn't know that it was Cyberpunk. You know, because I guess if you look back to movies like The
mm-hmm.
Matrix, that could be thrown into the cyberpunk realm. Um, Certainly, the great movie um, by with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall. I think that was cyberpunk. Love that movie.
Very good
You like
movie.
that movie too?
Yes.
Yeah, very good movie. So go ahead, talk about your cyberpunk novel. Is it finished? Is it a novel? What is it?
This one's actually a novelette, and it was my first time really experimenting on my own with format designing, which is why I was doing it. And I originally wasn't going to put it out under my current label. I was just going to put it out as a self-published piece. And I'm like, let's just do this. Let's just put something out there. It's edited, it's formatted. Why not? So I did it. It's called Gateway. And the idea came to me from a can't remember what I was nope, it wasn't what I was reading. It was something I misread. And I misread a phrase as Google is a gateway drug. And I just was like, oh, that gives me an idea for a story. So I ended up developing this really ravaged post-apocalyptic world where there are just those few technological city states that have managed to survive on technology alone. Technology replicates everything that they need. And of course, whoever controls the technology can control the people. So the city that we're looking at called New Parish, those in charge are willing to do just about anything to keep control of the technology. So anybody who develops something that they don't approve of, that they are not involved in, it tends to get taken care of in not always the nicest way. And that's kind of the whole setup for the story. Um, and the other part is that they use younger orphans that they use a replicating nanotechnology to infiltrate the systems and create more of a cybernetic being so that they can be controlled by this government to help monitor and control the people. And that is our main characters. One of these ones that actually hasn't been destroyed by this technology, because being self-replicating, eventually it just takes over and kills the body, killing the host and destroying them. Which, not ideal, but yeah, they're taking orphans anyway, so they don't care. But so our main character ends up coming back into the city after leaving their control to have a repair done, and ends up getting sort of coerced into investigating a new drug called Gateway, which we're not going to spoil you, but may actually end up saving her life and stop the technology that is in her from actually killing her. So it's a very short novelette. So it's about just under 20,000 words, and so it's a quick read. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to write. I think it's a lot of fun to read. I might be biased.
Yeah, well, sure. It does sound like a fun read, but when is it going to be out and how can people get it?
It is out now for ebook only. So you can get it on Kindle, Kobo. You can get it on your Apple iBooks. It should be available on quite a few different platforms. And as it is called Gateway, so that's kind of hard to find. But if you look up my name, Crystal L. Kirkham, it's a little bit less common. So you might be able to find it a bit quicker that way.
Okay, cool. So does that mean that you're up and running as a publishing company now?
Yeah, I have started getting everything up and running. I have been working for the last month and some trying to get everything organized. Those authors that are moving over with me, they've talked to me and have agreed to the contract terms. So it's just getting the contracts over them. And everything's going to more fully launch in 2021. So right now it's just kind of that transitional period where everything is, it's there, it's running, we're registered. We're just not fully out there yet.
So are you now? This could either go out if you wanted to or not if you don't want it to. But are you looking to expand and find others that are interested in coming on board to help you with the process of publishing? And are you looking for new authors that are interested in getting published with you?
The answer to both those questions is eventually. As with most very small startups, until we start making money, I don't really want to have to ask people, hey, can you work for free until we're ready, till we're actually making money and I can pay you something? I'm fairly lucky in that I have the background in graphic design, so I can do the cover design, I can do the formatting. I've done plenty of work in editing. I do freelance editing as well, so I have that. So unlike a lot of people going into this, I've actually got most of the skills already to be able to fully run the back end. Eventually, I would love to have people to help. I do actually have a proofer who is willing to work for books, which was wonderful when she offered. She's like, I know you're starting out. She's like, but if you need a proofer, I'm here. I'll just pay me in books. And I'm like, well, that's a deal I might be able to get behind.
Yeah, because they're not technically working for free. You froze up there for a minute.
So did you. I'm pretty sure that's probably the storm rolling. It's
Oh,
shaped.
okay.
My fiber optics is overhead, so if it gets a good shake, we're gonna freeze a little.
Okay. I will ignore it and press on. Is there anything you would like to say about the publishing company and the direction you're going? Like, okay, so for example, um, the of the catalog that you're developing, and I'm sure you've probably already got some fully already completed works that you're going to put into the catalog right away. What's the flavor or the I guess what genres are you going to focus on?
We're gonna focus on exactly where I feel at home, which is darker fiction. The exact genre isn't going to be as big of an issue as making sure that it carries through those darker themes that I like to see. Um, because it's more comfortable for me, I'd love my focus to be on fantasy and science fiction. Um, but once again, as long as those dark themes are there, as long as it's something that I really believe in myself, it's something then it's going to be something I will put on the table as an investment for the company. But definitely want to look for the darker works, and I really want to start promoting darker works in other genres other than horror.
I like cyberpunk, but I said again, it's something that I'm relatively new to. I did some research on the history of it. I do know that the game Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out soon. That game just looks amazing. Do you game at all? Are you a gamer?
Yes and no. I used to do a lot of tabletop gaming with a gaming group, but as most good groups do, we kind of grew apart. People had kids, people moved. And so, unfortunately, I don't really get a chance to do anything like that anymore. I do have a few games on Steam and pretty much dedicate Boxing Day. And for everybody who is not a part of the Commonwealth, that is December the 26th, which to being able to play games. So I have that one day a year where I don't do writing, I don't watch TV, I don't do anything but play games for a couple of hours on it.
That's cool. That's actually probably a good a good way to keep from overindulging, because gaming could be something that could easily be take you away from what you should be doing. Yeah.
Yes.
So you grew up in the 80s, is that right?
I did.
Okay. So that was the tail end of the Cold War right there. Do you remember anything from that time period that for you was alarming and made you think, um, maybe we're going to be looking at the end of the world here pretty soon?
You know, the interesting thing is, growing up in Canada where I did, you know, it wasn't really a thing. And, when I talk to people my own age, especially in the US, they'll talk about how that had an effect on them, which is really fascinating. How, that little tiny parallel of a border there made such a big difference in perspective. Especially because I really, even when I was younger, I really liked the news and I really liked to learn about world events. I was the kid who would read the paper after my dad, or, it's actually the reason I can read upside down and backwards is because my dad would read the paper and I would be on the other side of the table reading it as well, but it's upside down and a bit backwards. So, all those funny word things where you're like, hey, if you can read this, you're a genius. So it's like, no, I just have a lot of practice at this from reading the paper while my dad was in the middle of reading it too. I was that dorky person. But learning about things like that and being able to, do the research and learn how the connections and the involvements, spurred from this to this to that is actually something that, really actually I reflect in my writing too. Because when I'm writing stories, I love to show how decision A leads to this bigger picture of, this horrible thing happening or this incredible thing happening, and just how everything unfolds with little tiny different decisions and how it changes things. I mean, even as you said earlier when we were talking, you still see the effects of the Cold War, on, political influences and country relations even now. I mean, we'll ignore the fact that I grew up in a country where, I could always visit Cuba.
That is a really interesting perspective. I forgot that you were in Canada, even though we've been talking about it. I forgot that Canada was more isolated from the events of the Cold War. Now, did your parents ever mention anything to you about the conflict between the U.S. and the Soviet Union or any of that?
They never really did.
Oh, okay.
Surprisingly, most of it I learned on my own when I was in high school, because even back then I really loved reading military sci-fi. I was actually wanted to join the armed forces in Canada. Unfortunately, that stupid little gluten allergy thing, yeah, that's a big no. That is the reason. Not the fact that I crushed my leg. That was fine. Not the fact that I wasn't physically quite up to shape yet. That was okay. They could get me there. But the fact that I can't eat wheat, that was the no.
That would make sense. When you're in the field eating, well, they used to call them K rations. Now they call them MREs.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of preservatives and stuff in there that cause people a lot of problems if if they're not able to consume those kind of foods. So,
Yep.
that's unfortunate. Sorry that happened.
I know. Sad part is, when I did all the psychological tests and all that, all the tests are like, oh, you're absolutely perfect. I'm like, great. Well, I can't eat wheat. Oh, that's a problem.
Just don't put me in the field, man. I'll work a desk job. I just want to serve my country.
Like, seriously, I wanted to work in logistics. Like, that is my thing. I love planning. I love working out all these little, if you haven't figured it out, I love seeing how things connect. And logistics is a perfect place for that. Come on, I would have been in an office, guys. You would never have had to put me anywhere. It's not like Canada goes to war that often.
Well, I think it's really cool that you at least have the opportunity to write about stuff, and the fact that you write military fiction. Um, that's incredible. Now, when you're doing research for a book, do you have to reach out to like people that have lived through the experiences that you're trying to capture in your books, or do
Um,
you just make that stuff up?
a little bit of both. I actually have a lot of true story military accounts back on my bookshelves behind me here. And those were some of my favorite things to read growing up. Mostly World War II. For, yeah, actually, about I'd say about 90% of the stuff is World War II based. And other than that, if it's something that I really think I'm lacking in, I will reach out and we'll look for contacts. One story that I did based in a very remote location called Alert in Nunavut, which is here in Canada. It's one of the most northern permanently occupied places in the world, and it is a Canadian Forces listening base. And because the only way to ever visit this place is to number one, be a member of the media, or be a member of the armed forces, or to be a scientist, those were one of the three people I had to try and get a hold of to get there. And I actually ended up talking to a very nice gentleman who is in charge of our northern research facilities, who spent a hour and something talking to me on the phone from the other side of the country and telling me all about the base. And he was actually there for a couple of years, so he had some really good insights for me.
That's cool. It seems to me like if I was a writer, I think the part of writing that I would enjoy most is the research, because I do a lot of research for different reasons. Since I started the podcast, I've been doing a ton of research about different things. But even before I did the podcast, I would read um, just uh, like website content about certain things that were interesting to me. And again, in short bursts, but yeah, it does seem to me like the research would be the one of the most interesting aspects of writing. But there are so many areas of writing that um, I guess people really enjoy, and in doing these podcasts, talking with other writers, it just seems the people who do the writing do it because they love it above even trying to get paid for it. Um,
That,
that's a cool thing to see people pursuing passion work like that.
you know what, I can't argue with that. If I didn't want to actually make a living off of my writing, I would be happy to give it away for free. I really do just love putting together stories. I love researching and learning about how people interact, which is one of the biggest things. And you know what? That does require a lot of research and reading into events and how those affect people differently as well. Just as we were saying early, that little difference between the US and Canada, that little border made a huge difference on how the Cold War affected each of us.
That's and that's a good place to leave it, since I like to look for a good stopping point to close it out. Before I let you go, I would like to give you an opportunity to let people know how they can find out more about your work and if they wanted to get in contact with you.
All right. Well, the best place to find out more about all my work is on my website, which my personal website, which is crystalLKirkham.com. So last name Kirkham. I'm sure it'll be somewhere for you to find. And I pretty much always respond on Twitter at some point, which is at Canuck, that beautiful slang name that us Canadians are known by, Canuck Click. And yes.
Okay, so pretty much the website and uh, Twitter.
Best
No,
ways.
no Facebook,
I have
Instagram, anything like
I
that.
actually have all of those. I don't always check them as frequently as I should. I am pretty much constantly on Twitter, constantly, and I will check my website for stuff, and that's a great place to find out what's going on. And the only other place you can always get a hold of me is on Discord.
Oh yeah, that's something that's come up and coming. A lot of people are starting to use that.
They are.
I think we can call it a night, and
Alrighty.
that's about
I
it.
can feed these mutts.
Oh yeah,
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
thank you, Crystal. Have a good night.